Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all is well. And today I'm going to be talking about the Utah Jazz, and it's going to be a very interesting season for Utah Jazz fans because they made the playoffs 6 seasons in a row. They had a multiple-time All-Star in Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year in Jordan Clarkson, Bogdanovich, a very solid player, Quinn Snyder, very successful coach, at least when it came to the regular season, installing a pretty damn good culture. Yeah, Quinn Snyder stepped down, Rudy Gobert went on to be traded, Bogdanovich went on to be traded, Donovan Mitchell went on to be traded, and you have now acquired 14 brand new players on this roster, and you have a brand new head coach of Will Hardy. You're very young. You acquired draft picks. You acquired some players from the Cleveland Cavaliers, like via Donovan Mitchell trade. You acquired players from the Minnesota Timberwolves via Rudy Gobert trade, and also some draft capital as well. So it's going to be pretty rough for Utah Jazz fans this season. I think they're pretty realistic when it comes to their expectations that it looks like they're not going to be good. Maybe they learn how to get better towards the tail end of the season. Not like they have no veterans at all, but there's also no guarantee that Jordan Clarkson is going to be here when the season starts, or he may be gone at the deadline. Same thing with a Mike Conley, but you still have a veteran of Cody Zeller that you acquired, but it's just so crazy. This is just a totally different Utah Jazz team, and everyone's going to think Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. This team is not going to be good, but I'm very interested to see what Will Hardy's going to do with this Utah Jazz team and what his philosophy is going to be. We could hear about his philosophy if it's on offense, defense, and how he can improve the perimeter defense, but this is a totally different personnel when it comes to players wise, so we could hear about certain things, but we won't know how it really is. We won't know what it really looks like until it's really out there on the basketball floor. But there's some things you could be excited about if you're a Utah Jazz fan, and I'm going to try to keep Utah Jazz fans a little optimistic, or at least somewhat optimistic, even though it's not going to be the most successful season in the world. So you acquire these draft picks if it's from the Minnesota Timberwolves, if it's also, I almost said the New York Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, because I'm a Knicks fan. Everything I heard that he was going to be a New York Knicks. Some people thought the Utah Jazz could have got more, but kind of egos got involved. So there's going to be draft picks that you can maneuver via trade up in drafts to get very high quality players in the draft, or even not even trade for stars, just some very quality players, the next disgruntled star. But it looks like they're just going to be building throughout the youth, and they're just going to tear it down because as much as I like Donovan Mitchell, as much as I like Rudy Gobert, the pieces around him, and when it came playoff time, I feel like Rudy Gobert didn't really excel in the playoffs. They kind of played him off the court due to him being very predictable on offense when it came to certain assignments, switchability outside on the perimeter, kind of played him off the floor. And Donovan Mitchell didn't make the highest of basketball IQ plays when it came to Utah. When it came to Utah in the playoffs, but it was like, do you trust Royce O'Neal consistently, Bogdanovich consistently? So I feel like they were kind of stuck in the middle of the pack. So it was like maybe it is time for them to blow it up. So the first player I'm going to be talking about, like maybe you should be excited about this player if you are a Utah Jazz fan. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star this upcoming season, but he gives you something very fun to watch. And he's a killer out there on the floor. He has this killer mindset. He has a killer mentality. And I feel like he's pretty underrated. Yes, he does have a flaw in his game that he needs to improve at, but I feel like he's kind of solidified himself as a shooting guard at this point of his career. If it was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, playing next to Darius Garland, and now he's going to be playing next to a veteran of Mike Conley, and I feel like Mike Conley's personality fits him perfectly, and that is Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton has been a 20-point per game scorer throughout his career. And he's also shot it efficient from the field overall, 45% from the field, 37% three-point shooter. He has shown the good ability of getting to the rack. So despite the Utah Jazz not being a good team this upcoming season, he's still going to get buckets. And maybe it's not going to result in a lot of wins, but he's going to be fun to watch. He does a really good job catching defenders on his hip, baiting them in, getting to that floater, getting to the free throw line as well. He plays very physical. He's not the tallest in the world, but he's a very strong player out there on the floor, and he's sneaky athletic as well. So a lot of people are going to look at the Achilles heel of defense, even though if you truly watched him play, he wasn't terrible on defense. It's just that he's kind of been unlucky throughout his career when it's come to personnel-wise. Yes, he played point guard at the very beginning of his career. Darius Garland joins the squad. He ends up playing that two guard next to Darius Garland, and that's a very small backcourt. So when it comes to effort-wise, he's going to give it his all, but when it just comes to him not being the tallest in the world, he's going to get just kind of beat up when it comes to height and length. So he just doesn't match up well up against certain types of personnel. But he's going to try his best to make big time plays happen. And now he's going to be still in a small backcourt playing with a Mike Conley. So we're going to see how that unfolds. But yeah, Colin Sexton's able to shoot the three ball. He's able to get to that mid range shot. He's able to drive down the lane, use that dexterity, use some flashiness around the basket, his ability to use the left and right hand, and use the backboard for protection when it comes to reverse layup. So I really do love watching Colin Sexton plays. Colin Sexton play. He just plays with such a high motor. He's not going to give up on a play. And Utah Jazz fans are going to love watching this dude. I'm not sure how long he's going to be in Utah and if he's like a long-term player for them. But Mike Conley is one of the best, like, well-grounded, very neutral personalities in the league. One of the most humble dudes in the league, you know? And I feel like he's always had his head on straight. I believe he's only had one technical throughout his entire NBA career, and it happened by accident. He said on the JJ Redick podcast, but he's very mature individual. I've always thought he played the point guard position the right way, even though you could say maybe he's not the best as he used to be in his Grizzlies days, even though I think he's still a very solid player. Again, we don't know if he's going to be traded at the deadline, but he's just always been a great teammate. He always put his team first. He's always been professional when it's come to his work, the game of basketball, and the deficiencies of Colin Sexton not always seeing the right thing, not always his vision being inconsistent, his playmaking being inconsistent. Maybe Mike Conley could teach him, and he's the right guy to learn from. He's very patient. He's a veteran, and Colin Sexton, like, he's always been a gym rat as well, and he's someone that's not afraid of the big moment and take big time shots down the stretch. Especially we saw that Brooklyn Nets game that was freaking insane, but he's always been that guy that's had his killer in him. So Utah Jazz fans, you should be excited to watch Colin Sexton, and who obviously you got via Donovan Mitchell trade, and another player you got via Donovan Mitchell trade was Ochai Agbaji, and I really liked this wing coming out of Kansas. I was a really big fan of Agbaji, that was originally drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers because I just think he fits today's NBA so well. He's a 3-and-D player. Like, he was one of the most efficient shooters when it came to beyond the arc when it came to Kansas, and Kansas actually went on to win the national championship. He shot over 40% from downtown, and he brought very good versatility when it came to the defense side of the basketball. He's very good hips, very good lateral quickness. He's not afraid of any moment on defense. He's not afraid of any assignment, and he also brings you athleticism. He's not someone that's gonna beat you off the dribble, and like, he could beat you off the dribble when it comes to straight lines, but there's not crazy twitch to him. He doesn't have a crazy handle. Don't expect him to break guys down like crazy off the dribble with like finesse and insane crossover. But if he finds a crease in the defense, he is able to just jam it on you. And just having that type of guy, you always need that glue guy that may not average 20 points per game or be an all-star at some point in his career, but someone that knows his role very well and he's just going to execute it at such a high level and listen to the coach. I think that's just the perfect guy to have in Ochai Agbaji moving forward when it comes to this Utah Jazz club. Alright, next up, Lauri Markkanen. So Lauri Markkanen was pretty polarizing, you could say, when it came to a piece the Utah Jazz got via Donovan Mitchell trade, because I thought he played very well when it came to the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially that very unique lineup they put out there. They had Lauri Markkanen at the 3, they had Evan Mobley at the 4, then they had Jared Allen at the 5, and I thought it was perfect for Lauri Markkanen, just the perfect year to really utilize his strengths at such a high level, because one of the main things that he was really critiqued, you could say this part of his game was critiqued coming out of Arizona. We knew his ability to shoot the basketball and his scoring potential, but it was his defense, his lateral quickness, and having Evan Mobley that could defend the perimeter, defend the inside, like take on those assignments that like kind of just are twitchy outside on the perimeter, very unique when it comes to the power forward position. It was perfect for Lauri Markkanen and take pressure off of him defensively. But you know, Evan Mobley's a thinner guy, so it's great to have Jared Allen, who's built like just a freaking shit brick house, who's just huge, able to take on those assignments when it comes to the post, like a Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, not completely shut them down, but maybe just like keep them in check throughout the game and really do a good job altering shots and making those guys work. So Lauri Markkanen was able to play his game, but now he's in a totally different situation when it comes to Utah. You could say he's going to pop off offensively next to Colin Sexton. Those guys are going to average tons of points, and the pick and pop with Mike Conley. Mike Conley does a good job utilizing screens and really reading defense as well. So I do think they're going to find a good job finding Lauri Markkanen and hit those turnaround shots and find him in the right spots, or Mike Conley's going to find him in the right spots. And he's also a very good athlete. He can move pretty well without the basketball, but his defense I do think is going to drop off. Like, it was okay with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was like solid in my opinion, but now not having Evan Mobley, not having Jared Allen, how's it going to be on the defense side of the basketball? I know you have Cody Zeller there right now. You have Walker Kessler there right now as well. Or even at the center position, Kelly Olynyk, his ability to stretch the floor, shoot it from the outside. You know, you have Lauri Markkanen that can stretch it to the outside as well. So you have some bigs that are capable of shooting the basketball on this team. I don't think Kelly Olynyk's a long-term solution, but he's someone that's also been in the league for a long time that a guy of Walker Kessler can learn from and maybe stretch his game to the outside, give him some touch tips of his ability to just get better when it comes to the post, if it's a turnaround jumper, shooting it from the outside. So he has some good guidance to have a Cody Zeller, have a Kelly Olynyk, for Walker Kessler moving forward. Our next up, Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt may not be this fantastic offensive player. He actually went on to be acquired by the Utah Jazz via the Rudy Gobert trade. And when you take a look at Jared Vanderbilt, he's 6'11", but he has a 7'1" wingspan, and he has like a ridiculous standing reach or like just an insane reach. So he's very athletic. He plays with a very high motor. He could jam it on you through traffic as well. Like, this dude could be a mini Draymond Green. Maybe not the best of passing compared to a Draymond Green, but if you want someone that can play with a high motor, really cares about the game of basketball, because they're also acquiring high character individuals when it comes to really caring about the game. And I think that's very important for a young basketball club. And Jared Vanderbilt, just versatility, long wingspan, ability to defend multiple positions. I think that's going to be huge for the Utah Jazz moving forward. I do think he's a piece that could be there moving forward. Same thing with Abaji, because of how much they care about the game, the defensive versatility they bring, and it's always great to have this type of defensive player when you have such a great offensive player, if it's for now or the future, to take the load off of them defensively, and how guys like a Vanderbilt could take on those huge defensive assignments for them, so your star-studded or scorer could take care of the offensive load so they're not so fatigued at the end of the game when they're shooting free throws. But I thought Jared Vanderbilt was a sneaky good pickup by the Utah Jazz when it came to the Rudy Gobert trade. And now Walker Kessler. So Walker Kessler was someone they acquired via Rudy Gobert trade as well. He went on to be originally drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves. When you take a look at Walker Kessler next to Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler was one of the main anchors of the defense there. Like, their defense was fantastic because you had Jabari Smith's versatility of the flexibility of his hips outside on the perimeter, his ability to block shots in the interior. But then you take a look at Walker Kessler, who's a 7'1" monster, who's built like a brick house. He has a 7'4" wingspan, and he blocked 4 shots per game. So he's going to do a good job anchoring down that defense when it comes to the interior. But how's his lateral quickness going to be at the next level? Is he going to be able to keep up with those mobile centers? Is he going to be too flat-footed? That's the main thing. And does he have the athleticism for today's NBA, as well? But Cody Zeller, I think that's a good guy to learn from, that may have never been like an all-star, the best, like some fantastic player, but he's been in the league for a long time. He's had some struggles. He's had some ups and downs, and that's the thing that I love, that Colin Sexton can learn from Mike Conley if it's right now. Like, at least for right now. I don't know how long he's going to be on the team, but then you have Cody Zeller next to a Walker Kessler. I like that. Or Walker Kessler could have a mentor of Cody Zeller. I do like that for him as well. So I'm definitely rooting for him, and I'm interested to see how these draft picks are going to be for the Utah Jazz moving forward, because in this upcoming draft, high schoolers can come out now. So it's going to be interesting to see how the maturity of these players are going to be, like with their agents. Are they going to try to chase the bag, or are they really going to enter the NBA when they're truly ready? Now let's talk about Talon Horton-Tucker. So Talon Horton-Tucker obviously played his career throughout with the Los Angeles Lakers, and there's always been pressure on Talon Horton-Tucker. I feel like there's always so much pressure when you're playing in a Lakers uniform or playing in that big of a market, especially when you're a win-now mode basketball team with LeBron James. So when there is a level of inconsistency, when you're putting up inefficient numbers, especially on the offense side of the basketball, there's going to be putting you in the rotation, taking you out of the rotation. So when I take a look at Talon Horton-Tucker's game, is he an efficient, good three-point shooter? No. He lacks touch outside on the perimeter, but he's a very athletic specimen who really gets it done on the defense side of the basketball, and he's really strong. So I do think the Utah Jazz are going to like that. Like, they're acquiring some tough defensive-minded players which I do like. So he's going to get his opportunity if it's off the bench and the starting lineup. The Utah Jazz aren't expecting to do much this season, so they're just going to let him make his mistakes. Obviously, you're going to hold him accountable and then throw him out there. Like, if you make, like, let's say he makes a mistake, they're going to sit him down, like, all right, this is what you did wrong, then they're going to put him back out there on the floor. Not like he's going to be getting inconsistent minutes because there's no pressure to win. So I'm interested to see if Talon Tucker improved his shot from the outside and what is he going to bring to the table to this team. He averaged 10 points per game for the Lakers last season. Wasn't on the best efficiency from the outside, but maybe there is a little more there. I liked him coming out of Iowa State. Tyrese Halliburton obviously had some high praise for him. You could say that's because they went to the same alma mater or because they played together, but maybe there's something a little more there. And some people just thrive in a different role or thrive in a different market as well. But I'm not the highest on him, but I do think he could bring some value defensively, and he could bring some value when it comes to just him attacking the basket and utilizing that athleticism. And I do think he's an underrated passer, but his handle needs to improve as well. And Malik Beasley went on to be acquired when it came to the Rudy Gobert trade as well. He's someone that had a really good scoring year, good efficiency before this past season. Then his efficiency from three went down, or his efficiency from the field wasn't great, but I believe he still shot it pretty good from the field. So what's Malik Beasley's role going to be with this Minnesota or Utah Jazz team as well? I believe he really does have scoring ability. He's a difficult shot maker. He's a solid, decent shot creator. Very silky, smooth shot from the outside. He's very good mechanics, and he can get hot. But the thing with him, he's a streaky player. But I'm not completely high on him when it comes to the future. Maybe he could be like a nice spark plug coming off the bench, his ability to score the basketball. What are your thoughts on this Utah Jazz team moving forward? Who are you the most excited for? And peace out, y'all.